Hey, what's going on, guys? Brian here, Brian's Lawn Maintenance. Trust you guys are doing well. Hey, wanted to jump into it and do a video talking about all things leaf cleanups and talking about our rates and our prices to help you guys grow a more successful lawn landscaping business so you guys can go out there and crush it. Hey, if you guys are new here, maybe consider subscribing. Let's jump into it. So right now we are in the transition period, going from weekly mows and finishing up our lawn maintenance schedules. Most of us go through the end of October, maybe Halloween, and then the first or so week of November, and then we shift gears pretty quickly to leaf cleanup. A lot of you guys have been asking lately, what are we charging for our leaf cleanups? What's some best tips, some best practices? A lot of you guys are just getting into the industry, and maybe this is your first fall season, so I wanted to just spend a few minutes trying to give you guys some helpful tips. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was, when we're talking about leaf cleanups, there's a couple different ways to approach it. And again, the YouTube channel, it goes a little bit of everywhere in terms of like where you guys are watching from. Somebody might be watching from Florida, somebody might be watching from Idaho, somebody else might be talking from the Midwest in Michigan, 10 minutes down the road. The biggest conversation when we have with leaves is it's a lot of potential money. It's a short window typically to do it. And it's a great revenue generator for our companies at the end of a weekly, or bi-weekly mow season for a lot of us. So it's a natural part of the business. For me, I started with my core maintenance. I expanded with cleanups. I added some aerations in there. Then we went the whole 12 out of 12 months by adding snow removal. So there's a lot of great money to be brought in the spring and fall with doing cleanups, because again, you can tack on another 3 or 4 weeks potentially of revenue in the fall months, like in November, December. And that way you have some good pay the bill money, maybe some last pad stats money before you go into winter. Maybe you are using leaf cleanups to bridge the gap payroll-wise before the snow starts falling. Maybe some of your flat rate monthly contracts for snow just started kicking in. Leaves are a good way to bring in another $5, $10, $25,000, maybe $100,000 worth of leaf cleanups. The size, depending on the size of your company, right? So here's the first thing that I want to talk about is rates. What are we at and what are we charging? For us personally, for a 2-man crew, we are at a $175 an hour for 1 hour worth of work and $75 per man hour after that. So if you have a 3-man mow crew or a 3-man leaf cleanup crew, we'll be at $250 per hour. Now, number 2 I want to talk about is, what do we do for our leaf cleanup pricing? Okay, what I like to do is give ranges. A lot of you guys have heard me talk about this on previous videos or maybe on our podcast talking about leaf cleanups. And for me personally, leaves are probably the only thing that we really do where we give ranges, because it's so variable, it's so dynamic. Let me give you a couple for instances. If I just show up to your property and say, hey, it's gonna be $250 for a leaf cleanup or $550 for a leaf cleanup, it really just depends on, hey, how wet are the leaves? How thick are the leaves? How much are we using our debris loader? Are we using a stand-on leaf blower? How much 2-stroke fuel did we end up going with? So on and so forth. And another probably half dozen variables. Are we doing any perennials? Are we doing any pruning, any cutbacks, any last minute pruning while we're there? Like that price to just come up to the customer and say, hey, all of our leaf cleanups are $350, like we would a weekly mow. Hey, in the subdivision, most of our cuts are $45. Like you can go from $45 on a weekly mow to $49 or $50 or whatever if it's a corner lot, or maybe you're charging $80 for a weekly mow where you live, and you can say, hey, most of them are 80, for you would be 85. Well, to go from one site to the next in a subdivision for a leaf cleanup, and you say, hey, this one's $299, but the next neighbor over might have 8 large maple trees or 8 large oak trees, or they might have a pool in the backyard and you gotta hand rake all of that or use a stand-on leaf blower to get all those leaves out. It changes the whole dynamic of that conversation very quickly. So one neighbor could be $275 and the next neighbor right next door could be $449 for a leaf cleanup. Again, it just depends on how many guys are there, how long we're there, how many leaves are we taking away, how much are we hauling away off site, and how much are my dump fees? For some of you guys, you have local sites that will take your leaves because they mince them up into compost and resell it, in the following season. For some of you guys that might be in more urban environments and you don't have a local dump near you, or real estate is a premium, and to have a compost yard in the middle of the city or whatever, they're going to charge you $30 a yard to dump off or whatever. Right, that's going to change the whole dynamic of the conversation. So that's why I'm not just like, hey, leaf cleanup, $275 or $500 or bust. It's such a multiple faceted conversation. If you guys have some great tips as well, how you guys factor your leaf pricing, of course, leave me some comments down below. Another conversation that I want to have was, is it wet outside? Is it dry outside? A dry leaf cleanup on a residential could take an hour and a half. A wet leaf cleanup with it's 30 degrees and the leaves are frozen to the ground, that can take 3 hours. So here's the whole conversation. We have a short amount of time to make money before snow starts falling, or it's just too cold, or people just mentally shift gears. And so leaves do come at a premium. One thing that I wanted to give you guys some suggestions, especially if you're newer in business, a little inside baseball, is when you're talking to customers, most folks that live in subdivision America or suburbia America, they have made enough money. They do not want to necessarily go out and do all of their yard work, and they don't mind paying $200, $400, $500, $1,000 to have somebody do a fall cleanup on their property. So make sure you guys are always knowing your numbers, valuing your self-worth. Don't give it away for free. It's pretty hard work. Leaf cleanups are pretty challenging. I mean, it does take some muscle, and again, it gets it's dark until 9 a.m. sometimes. It gets dark at 4 or 5 p.m. in the Midwest, you know. So don't just do a leaf cleanup for $50 or $100 or $150. Those folks value you guys doing a great job on their property, and the overhead that you have associated with doing a leaf cleanup can be pretty significant if you're doing a single overhead recovery business model. If you have 3 or 4 weeks to pay off your Billy Goat debris loader, your Billy Goat stand-on leaf blower, your $500 leaf box, your $10,000 dump trailer, so on and so forth, and you have a 3 or 4 week window to make that happen and pay that overhead off, well, then you can see how we have to start charging these premium rates to be able to make leaf cleanups make sense. So number 1, know your costs. Number 2, know your overhead and your costs. Number 3, don't value yourself for what the customer will pay. There's a lot of folks out there where I've bid a leaf cleanup for $400 and they say, hey, here's $800. You guys did such a great job. It would have taken me and my wife 2 weeks to do this. You guys knocked it out in 4 or 5 hours, okay? Another quick tip I wanted to give you guys is, and this is all just coming off the top of my head, but another quick tip I wanted to give you guys was, when you're talking about smaller jobs make more money, that's typically the case for us. Also, if you guys are doing big commercial sites, make sure you're hitting a day rate minimum. Similarly, don't give your commercial accounts a freebie because they're large sites or they had some great landscaping along the way. For example, if your company needs to do $1,500 a day minimum for a 2 or 3 man crew, that's what it has to be for your leaf cleanup. Don't give that away for $400 or $500. Nobody's making any money on those sites, especially when you're there for a half a day, when you add in labor and add in, 6 gallons of 2-stroke fuel. Like, you're not making very much money on those sites. So make sure you have day minimums for either commercial or residential, but you know what you need to make. Maybe $1,000 a day, $1,500 a day, $2,500 a day, so on and so forth. Let me go back to the cheat sheet here. If these are some helpful tips for you guys, if so, let me know in the comments down below. I talked about the overhead cost recovery calculator that we have on Launchpreneur Academy. Your truck, your dump fees, your debris loader, your stand-on leaf blowers, paying for your rollers and your tarp systems, your leaf box. Those are all things we're trying to factor, okay? Here's one thing that I was having a conversation with somebody earlier today, and he said, man, today's prices that I'm charging for leaf cleanups, it's wild versus what I first charged for my first couple cleanups just 2 or 3 seasons ago. I did a coaching call earlier with a gentleman, and he said his first leaf cleanup he did for, I think it was like 65 or 75 bucks. At the time, he had a $15 an hour job. Took him 2 hours to do the leaf cleanups, and he said, man, I'm making 3 times X what I used to make at my job. Fast forward, he said the same leaf cleanup today he would have charged $200 or $300 for, and he was happy to get $75 just a couple years ago. We're in the exact same boat. Maybe you guys have seen some of our first couple of YouTube videos where we were doing a spring cleanup for $145 in an hour or an hour and a half. And albeit that sounds like good money, the reality is with the cost of overhead for our company then and of course today, it's significantly different. And the same cleanup that I would have done for $145 just 5 years ago is probably in the $275 to $425 range. And that's just because costs have gone up, my overhead has gone up. what we actually do for the customer. I know what to charge more now. We actually value ourselves. And so that's just something that I wanted to communicate to you guys. It's not a cash grab. It's not being greedy. It's just, we were giving it away for literally for free. And I didn't know what it costs to run my business or what it costs to actually make money doing cleanups. So these are just some helpful quick tips along the way. There's probably about 7 or 8 bullet points in here. These are just some FAQs that I got from a couple coaching calls lately, a couple email inquiries, a couple DMs on Instagram, and hopefully this can help you guys out with better pricing your spring and fall cleanups. If you guys have some other questions or comments, leave them down below. I'm an open book trying to help you guys grow. This is not an all-inclusive video for everything fall cleanups related, but you know, once your equipment continues to grow and you become more efficient, there is a bunch of money in leaf cleanups, including even just doing curbside, you know, leaf cleanups with your debris loader or your vacuum. So if you guys are just getting started in business, keep your head on a swivel to add leaf cleanups to your lawn and landscaping business. It's a great way to, like I said at the top of the show, the top of the hour, go from 6 months of mowing or 8 months of mowing to adding an extra 3 to 4 weeks on both sides, spring and fall. And then not only that, once you have that going on, you can take that money, reinvest to compound your growth, both in winter or even back into your summer season. So leaf cleanups is a huge part of our business. Every day we're knocking out about $1,500 a day right now. We're super excited about that. We got some videos coming down the pike in just a couple days showing you our 2023 leaf cleanup setup and everything that we got going on there. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. I see a lot of new leaf boxes out there, a lot of new debris loader setups. A lot of you guys are growing. A lot of you guys are here to make some money. Let's go service those customers. Let's go take care of them. Let's make sure their properties are looking spotless for fall. And that's what I got for you guys on today's video. Just some helpful tips with how you bid out your leaf cleanups. If you guys got some other suggestions, leave me some comments down below. Love to hear what you guys are doing. Love to hear what's working out for you guys. And that's what I got for you. If you guys are new here, like I said at the top of the hour, this channel is all about helping you guys grow a more successful lawn and landscaping business so you guys can go out there and crush it. If you guys are new here, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button. If you guys are part of that regular crew, hey, big thumbs up on the video if you got a couple nuggets out of this one. And we look forward to catching up with you guys here on the next one.